When my mother said no, no meant no. I mean, if it didn't matter whether I was asking if I could go to a friend's house or ride my bike to the store, and if I asked her why she said no, it was always the same answer: because I said so. My mom believed that children should be seen but not heard, and that when she said no, that was the end of the discussion, end of story, period, exclamation point. Well, my wife Gail, my old wife Gail over there, and I had a different parenting philosophy when we grew up. Now, Gail is the brains of the operation, by the way, so we had a different philosophy. Our kids, we wanted to teach them to be engaging and articulate and persuasive. So it was just a different philosophy of how to be parents. And when it all really kind of started for me when my son was about 7 years old. I came home from work one Friday afternoon. I saw he was really sad. And I went up to him and I says, "Hey, Kevin, what's the problem?" And he goes, "I asked Mom if I could go swimming in Chris's pool, and she said no." And now it wasn't unusual for Kevin to be swimming in his best friend's Chris's swimming pool. I mean, I occasionally thought Kevin spent more time in Chris's pool than Chris did. And when he heard this from him, I asked him, "Well, did Mom tell you why she said no?" He just shook his head sadly, like, "She just said no." Well, I thought that, Gail was upstairs, so she wasn't around. I could ask her or anything. But the thing is I just thought, this is a good teaching moment for Kevin. And I was a salesman. I was trained in the art of negotiation. And so I thought that I can cheer the kid up and give him a few pointers on the steps in the process of getting to yes. So I didn't realize at the time that I was doing this, that I was be creating a little selling machine that would keep Gail and I on our toes for years after that. Well, I started off by telling Kevin about timing. Like, if you want Mom to say yes to something, first you should maybe do something nice for Mom so she's in a good mood. And Kevin was surprisingly receptive and listening to the things I said. Well, the next day was Saturday, and the family was all together at lunch at the table. And Kevin decided to take my chips for a test drive at the lunch table. So all of a sudden I saw him look over to Gail, and he said, "Mom, that was really good grilled cheese that you made today for lunch. Thanks." And Gail looked at him a little suspiciously, wondering what the little fellow's up to. And then Kevin, uncharacteristically, picked up his plate and took it over and put it in the sink. And then he turned around and looked over his mom and asked if she was done so he could go get her plate too. Well, this just, I was actually really laughing inside because I knew exactly what he was up to. Well, he went over and got his mother's plate, and then he picked up his little sister's plate as well. Well, that startled us all because Kevin never did anything with or for his little sister at all, except maybe use her for target practice every once in a while with his balls. But he did that, and then he looked at his mom and said, "Anything else I can do for you, Mom?" And Gail said, "Did you make your bed or your room cleaned up?" He said, "Yeah, I did all that, Mom. Can I go to Chris's house now?" Well, Gail looked at me suspiciously, like she knew I kind of planted all this in his head. And I kind of looked at her and gave her a discreet little nod and a wink, like, "Yeah, I'll tell you what happened." And so Gail agreed, and he ran off to his friend's house and said, "Bye, okay, thanks, Mom, love you, bye," and ran out the door. So I talked to Gail later about it, and she said, and we agreed that he was a little manipulative, but he was being thoughtful and helpful, and so we decided that this was okay. But this wasn't the end of the story. Kevin just picked up on every little sales tip I'd give him or persuasive kind of thing, and we created a little selling machine that would go after every single idea of persuading or getting that he could. And unfortunately, because it was kind of like what I do, I kept encouraging him. So it just kind of mounted and mounted until finally Gail and I needed to develop these defense strategies against the little wheeler dealer. He was trying to do everything he could to get things out of us. So anyway, he would, one of my favorite defenses was just to have a list of chores for him to do. So when he came up and made some proposal, I had counter proposals and I could up the ante and that type of thing, which he responded well to that. And then I came up with some new techniques, like I'd say thanks after every time I asked him something. So it was like if he would, I'd say, Kevin, when you get home from school today, will you mow the lawn? Thanks. Or Kevin, would you go wipe off the picnic table? Thanks. And first he was a little like thrown, like, wait, I missed my chance to negotiate a better arrangement in there somewhere. But ultimately it was okay. But then he turned the tables on us as he got a little bit older, and he'd come up to Gail and say, hey, Mom, can you make milkshakes for me and my friends? Thanks. Or, Dad, Mom wants somebody to take out the trash. Thanks. And he'd be out of there. Well, I don't know. Kevin continued those kind of things, and Kevin wasn't homeschooled, but he learned a lot of selling techniques at home, and now he, after that, he went on to get a sales and marketing degree in college, and then he became an award-winning salesperson at 2 different well-known companies, and now he's a sales trainer for a major company. And so, I don't know, if my mom was around now, she sees Kevin, I think she'd be very proud of what he did, and she would probably also tell Gail and I that we were good parents. And when she did, I'd give her a big hug, and I said, you are too, Mom. Love you. Thanks. And that would be the end of the story. Period. Exclamation point.